Donald Trump has threatened the fate and future of human civilization, joining the fossil fuel industry billionaires to deny climate change. I mean, let's just look at some of the things that Donald Trump actually should be impeached for, in my opinion. I am very concerned. We talked about this some yesterday. Feel free to weigh in your opinions on what you think he should or should not be impeached for, and whether the Democrats need to go wide or narrow. I'm increasingly thinking they need to go wide. And the main reason, actually, is that it's increasingly looking like the Senate will not vote to impeach Trump. They will not vote to remove him from office. So what's going on here is a statement for history. It's a statement for the future. It's a way for the House of Representatives to say, essentially, never again. We will not tolerate this behavior from any future presidents of the United States, be they Republican or Democratic. As a president of the United States, you cannot conspire with an industry to destroy the quality of life on this planet, or for that matter, to destroy all life on this planet, or much of the life on this planet, certainly all large-scale mammalian and human life. He has threatened peace by upending our relationships with our other democratic allies and aligning himself instead with dictators, murderers, and autocrats. He's sold off our public lands to his donors and his cronies. He's devastated our public parks and our sacred places. He's installed an anti-labor labor secretary and an anti-public school education secretary, who, by the way, Betsy DeVos yesterday proposed a scheme whereby all of the student debt, there's $1.5 trillion in student debt out there, and thanks to this bankruptcy bill of 2005, you cannot declare bankruptcy and get rid of your student debt. And so but there is this program to reduce student debt. In fact, NPR did some really great reporting on this yesterday afternoon. There is this program to eliminate student debt for low-income people. And Betsy DeVos has been sabotaging it. There are tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people who qualify to have their debt wiped out. Then she's not letting it happen. And now she said that all of the student debt should be moved into a separate government corporation. Why? Because right now, because the student debt is held, largely by the executive branch, as it were, by, the Department of Education. Right now, the president could issue a presidential order, a proclamation, a presidential executive order that simply says no more student debt. President Warren or President Sanders could do that in one day. And Betsy DeVos, her family, according to Ryan Grimm over at The Intercept, what he wrote. He said the DeVos family is heavily invested in the student loan industry. This is just flat out corruption. Because if you move that debt into a separate government corporation, then the president can no longer wipe out the student debt. Betsy DeVos is seen, and Donald Trump are seeing the possibility of a President Warren or a President Sanders, and they're saying, no, you won't be able to wipe out student debt. And and Trump is down with that. He's broadly corrupted a government that Americans fought and died for 240 years. He has enriched himself at the expense of the American people, and given people like Jared Kushner, a grifter and a clear security risk, according to our nation's intelligence agencies, access to our country's most sensitive secrets. He's welcomed foreign interference in our elections openly. In the 2016 election, in the 2020 election, and then when that foreign interference came in the 2016 election, he obstructed Robert Mueller's investigation. On at least 10 items of obstruction of justice are listed in the Mueller report. And Robert Mueller himself said all of these are things that he could be impeached for. He's brought the office of the presidency into ridicule and disrepute. Joe Biden has a new ad out pointing out that the rest of the world is literally laughing at Donald Trump. And I think probably crying about us. This is what America has come to. Impeachment is not just a process of slapping a president's hand or even just a process of removing him from office. We remember what we remember about the Bill Clinton administration because Bill Clinton got caught with Monica Lewinsky. We remember what we remember about the Nixon administration because of the articles of impeachment against Richard Nixon. During the Nixon impeachment, there was a fairly robust debate in the House of Representatives about whether they should include in the articles of impeachment that he had secretly bombed Cambodia. It was a violation of the law. It was a violation of international treaties. It went on for months. It killed hundreds of thousands of innocent civilians. And ultimately they decided, we're not going to include that in the articles of impeachment. And so now here we are, 40, 50 years later, and when people talk about Nixon being impeached, they don't point out that he illegally bombed Cambodia, and Laos for that matter. But the debate was around Cambodia. I mean, look at what Donald Trump is doing. He's promoting war crimes. He campaigned in 2016 on war crimes. Yeah, we should have more torture. We should have more waterboarding. We should have more people die in custody. He said that when you find a terrorist, you should kill their family. This is a clear violation of U.S. law, international law. It's a clear war crime. I think all these things should be included in the articles of impeachment because it is an historic document. It defines for the future of our country, for generations of people who right now might be 5 or 10 years old or might not even be born yet, who will have no clear memory of this impeachment hearing. It tells them what happened during the Trump administration. I mean, we should not make the mistake that we made even with the Nixon impeachment of only impeaching, Nixon for a very narrow range of things. We need to lay it out. I mean, this is what they did with the Andrew Johnson impeachment. They even impeached him. One of the articles of impeachment was that he brought disrepute to the office. In other words, we're better than this. We believe that the office of the presidency should have integrity. And what am I missing, by the way? I mean, this is just my off the top of my head list that Louise and I came up with this morning. His violations of the Emoluments Clause, his ordering the Air Force to put their refueling planes in an obscure airport in Scotland. This just happens to be right down the road from his hotel, where he's saying that the pilots should spend the night. Where they can't, on their per diem, they can't even afford to eat in the Trump restaurant because it's so expensive. His ownership of the Trump Hotel, when the federal government lease says no office holder can own the lease for the old government post office, which is what the Trump Hotel is in. His blocking the sale of the FBI building, which is right across the street from the Trump Hotel. His blocking the sale of the FBI building. The FBI said this building is old. It was built back in the 50s. It is out of date. We want to move it. I believe it was the 50s, might have been the 60s, but it was back in that era. And the FBI wanted to move it out to Virginia. They wanted to where the traffic is not insane and where you're not, right in the middle of the scrum and everything. And, FBI, they do a lot of stuff. They wanted to move their building out to Virginia. And Trump said, no, you can't move that building. Why? Because the companies that were most interested in buying it when the government would tear it down and sell the lot right across the street from the Trump Hotel. The companies most interested in buying it were Hilton and Marriott. Trump didn't want the competition for his hotel. Isn't that impeachable? So, I'm seeing this long list, selling off public lands, selling our resources for pennies on the dollar. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. And, help me build this list. What else should he be impeached for? Or do you think that I'm wrong? Do you think that, they should say, this Ukraine thing, it's clearly a crime. Nobody's arguing that it's not. Well, I guess Trump is. He's now saying, well, when I said do us a favor, actually, that was a little later in the conversation. He said, I meant U.S. Right.